Hello and welcome to another episode of this Unreal tutorial series where I'm making a city building game. Today's episode is going to be all about adding some mouse control to our game. So right now we have camera movement and we can pan around the world and stuff, but we can't actually click on anything. You can see that when I press play my mouse disappears, so I need to fix that because once we start adding objects into the game, we are actually going to want to be able to click on things. So the first thing I'm going to do quickly is actually just enable the mouse input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my player controller. I'm going to scroll down in the details to the mouse interface, and we want to show the mouse cursor so we can actually see what we're clicking on. We want to enable the click events, and we want to enable mouse over events. Compile and save that. And then if we go and we press play now, I'm in the game and I can't do anything with my mouse yet, but you can see that my mouse is actually present. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make start with a new folder. And we're just going to call this game objects for now. And then in this folder, I'm going to have a secondary folder, which is going to be components. And I'm going to create a new actor component. So actor component here. And that's going to be city builder clickable component. And the idea behind this is anything I attach this component to will become selectable. So I can just get rid of these for now. In fact, I'll keep the event begin play, compile and save that. And what I'm going to do is on the event begin play, I'm going to get out our parent, or get owner, sorry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind an event to this component from our actor. So the event is called on mouse. Is it on mouse click? The event is just called on clicked. So bind event to on clicked. Bring that up. Drag the event begin play into that. And all I'm going to do is have a custom event. And we're going to call this on mouse clicked. Just capitalize the C. Like so. And now whatever we attach this to, anytime we click on it in world, this function will be called. So for now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to just check if our actor has a static mesh component. So if we look for static mesh component like so, and if this comes back as valid, actually you can do it that way, or you could just call the actual function on it rather than the utility. So if I connect that up, what I'm going to want to do is I'm just going to add in a variable that is going to be the static mesh ref, and that is going to be a static mesh component object reference, like so. Compile, save that. So if this is a valid component, then we are going to set the static mesh to that. Compile, save that. And then what we can do here is, again, we could just do another is valid. Because, we might accidentally attach this component to objects that aren't valid, or we might want to add in like skeletal mesh stuff that we'd have to tweak some behavior for in the future. But for now, this is fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another variable, which is going to be is clicked. And this is basically going to just store whether the component is currently clicked or not. So by default, it is not true. That is fine. And then every time the on mouse clicked is called, we're going to get the not of the current is clicked variable. And then we're gonna set it to the opposite of what it currently is, assuming that the static mesh is valid. In fact, we'll do that the other way around. just because we always want to change the variable even if the static mesh is not there. So just do that, plug that in like this, so. And then if the static mesh is valid, what I've actually done is I've just created two test materials. One is green, one is red, and I'm just gonna do a branch on the is clicked, like so. Move those a bit. So as long as that's valid, if we have just changed to being clicked, then we're going to change to the green material. But if we've just changed to being unclicked, then we'll set that to the red material. Compile and save that. What's that complaining about? I didn't plug in the static mesh reference. Compile, save that. Okay. So we've created that quick component. Let's actually make a objects folder in fact, no, that's silly. This one we're just gonna do it here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place a cube actor into the world, like so. Scale them up, all that stuff. Go to his details, and then I'm gonna add in the new clickable component, like that. So to start with, let's just set this material to green. Or to begin with, I actually want it to be red because he won't be clicked. If I press play now, and I come in here, I'm hovering over him. If I click on it, it turns green. If I click on it again, it turns back to red. And it's honestly, so I'm clicking here now, nothing's happening, clicking here, and I'm flicking between the two. So it's actually really easy to do this in Unreal. It has a lot of really nice functions already set up for you. The one thing that I want that is a bit more complicated, that is going to be beneficial for my eventual game, is when I'm playing and I hover my mouse over here, I want the object I am hovering over to highlight. So this is going to take a bit of work. I'm not going to pretend that I completely understand the rendering side of this. I followed a really good tutorial that I will link below if you want this in a bit more detail. But there is a material you can make that does a really nice highlight effect for you. And that's what I'm going to do here. So we're going to call this City Builder Highlight Material. I'm going to go through this quite slowly because it is very complicated. I have a secondary asset that I've already made that I'm copying from just because there's so much to do. But what you first want to do when you create your new highlight material is you want to change the material domain to post process, like so. And then what else you want to do is you want to scroll down here. You want to go down to the post process material and you want to change the blendable location to before translucency, like so. Right, now we're going to start all the way over here. And the first thing we're going to add is we're going to add a view size, like so. And then dragging this off, we're going to add in a seal. Again, I'm not great at rendering, so I can't really explain what all this is, but I just followed this from a tutorial that I've seen in multiple locations, so I'm just sticking to that. This seal will then going to clamp between values of 1 and 2, like so. Hopefully that's simple enough to follow along from. And then using this, we're going to drag off and we're going to do a multiply. Just a simple multiply. In fact, we'll drag that into the B, and then we're going to create a new scalar parameter. So these are the parameters that we can actually adjust. So this parameter is going to be our line render width. And what you can do with materials is you can have a base material like this, and from this I can create multiple materials based off this one, and then I just change the singular parameters and that adjusts the new material in line with it. So the scalar and the vector parameters are really useful for that. We're going to give this a default value of 5. So if you come down to the bottom left and only change the default value to 5, that's fine. And then that's the first little bit done. For the second part, we're going to look for a scene texel size. So a scene texel size there. We're going to drag this up into another multiply. And just for neatness, that we're going to plug that one into the A and then this into the B, like so. And then we add in another scalar parameter. You can just call this param0, and that's going to stay at 0. We're going to add in a mask here. It's not a bit mask I'm after. It is a component mask. There we go. We're going to need 2 of these. What we're doing here is we're splitting up the red and the green value. So if you click on the one at the top, just untick the green, like so. And then the one at the bottom, untick the red, like that. And we're going to drag this multiply into both of these. And then we're going to do what's called an append. We'll do that, drag that out from the mask just so we get the right one. I think it's append vector. Like that. And then param0 just goes there. You can copy and paste that into there. And we're going to do the same. Like that. So that's the next section done. Again, move that out of the way because there's still a fair bit to do. We're going to have another param at the bottom that we'll quickly add, another scalar param that is going to be param-1. And for this one, the default value needs to be -1. So make sure you do that, that's quite important. We're going to come back to the top and we're going to get a screen position. You'll see that there's 2 nodes that come off there. We're going to use the viewport UV. We're going to pull that off and we're going to get another component mask. And for this one, we're going to keep both the red and the green ticked. So that's kind of already set up for us. So using this mask and this append, we're then going to do an add between the 2. So we will add the red green and then we will add the append will go into the B like that. We're going to need another add. So what you can do is if you highlight the add and you press Ctrl W, another add will appear for you. We're going to actually need 4 additions here. So if you just keep pressing until you've got the right amount. And the things that you need to hook up is you want to put this mask for the red and green into every single A node coming down. Like so. For this one, we're going to do it from this append. And then for the bottom 2, what we actually need to do is we need to add in a multiply. So to each of these 2 appends that we've already got. So I'm just going to do a multiply for the first one. So we will drag this append into the A and the -1 into the B, and then that goes into our B node for there. This is all the wires are gonna start crossing and it's gonna start looking very messy. So I'm trying to take this quite slowly and hopefully not confuse you too much. And then we're gonna do another multiply, which is gonna take the second append and again the -1 parameter in like that, and then that is gonna go into our bottom one like so. So hopefully that's not too complicated. So you've got four adds. You add the append to the mask, the top 2, and then you add the append multiplied by the -1 to the bottom 2. Hopefully that makes some sort of sense. It doesn't necessarily make sense to me. Again, not a graphics guy, but it works. That's all I know. And that's all I care about. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to add in a scene texture. And the important thing to change here is this scene texture ID in the bottom left. That needs to be changed to a custom depth, which is just above the list of post-process inputs. So if you set that to there, and you're actually going to need 5 of these. So again, if you've got it selected, press Ctrl W, do that. So we have 5 of these. And then what we can do with all the ads, just link that one-to-one. So if I move them all just a little bit up, so that'll plug straight into there, that plugs straight into there, straight into there, and straight into there. And then the top one we leave blank, but all the rest are plugged in. Easy enough. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do subtracts now. So we're going to pull this color out and we're going to subtract the color of each one. So again, just Control W all of these, and it's always going to be the top one is going to subtract the one next to it. So we can just plug that into all the A values, and then just bring these across to go into the B values. Okay, and then we're nearly at the end now. I know it's complicated and a long process. We need to get a full add for all of these 4. So if we just drag this off and do an add, and then that goes into the B like so, and then do another addition for the bottom 2, and then do a final addition for the 2 additions you've just done. And that basically makes all these make sure all of these have been added together. Right, now we get to add in another scalar parameter now. So scalar parameter, and this is going to be our edge angle fall off. So this is one that we will actually want to adjust during the game. As a decent default for this is just -100. So I would just say it's that for a default. And then what you want to do is you want to divide the sum of your additions. So pull that off and hit divide. Hit divide, plug that into the B value, and then we need to subtract 1 from this number. So if you just do a subtract, by default it's already taking 1 away, so you're fine to just leave it like that. But what we do want to make sure is that this value gets clamped between 0 and 1. So do a clamp. Again, the default's already set it between 0 and 1, so you're fine there. And then the last little thing we need to do before we plug in the emissive color is we need to set our highlight color. So if we do a vector parameter, I'm going to call this highlight color. And I'm going to have mine to be a nice blue color. I think that's what Cities Skyline uses, so I quite like to use that as a good base for what mine's going to look like. So the highlight color is like that. We need to make a float fall from this. So do a make float fall, and then just drag the red into the X, the green to the Y, the blue to the Z, and the alpha into the alpha. Another scalar parameter now. Scalar parameter, and this one is going to be our outline glow intensity. So how much it actually glows by. And then by default, I'm just going to set that to be 1. Do another multiply between these 2 colors so we know how brightly this will shine. Like so. And then the last little step, just one more, another scene texture we want here. But this time, instead of setting the ID to be a custom depth, we're going to set it to post-process input 0, like so. We're going to drag this color down, and we're going to look for a lerp, a linear interpolate under the math section, like that. The multiplication is going to be the B value for this, and then all our complicated stuff that we've done over here, the result of that from this clamp is going to be the alpha value. We're going to bring that down and we can finally just plug this into our emissive color. So once you've done that, hit apply. Hopefully there'll be no compiler errors. If there is, just go back through slowly and make sure you've done everything. It's a long process, but it's worth it at the end. We're going to go back to our main game, and this won't work out the bat. What we need to do is we need to add a post-process volume into the world. Now, if you're not too aware of how these things work, basically it will add post-processing to everything within this cube, but you don't have to make it a massive cube to encompass your entire level. It does actually have an option on it to, if you just scroll down here, in the post-processing volume settings, there is an infinite extent unbound. So if you tick that, it applies to the entire level and you don't have to change the scale of this box. If you were working on something a bit more intensive, you'd maybe want to have these small boxes around the world so that the post-processing was only done in certain locations. But for us, set it to infinite and that's fine. And then one thing you also need to do is in the rendering features, under post-process materials, there's an array. You need to add an element to it. It needs to be an asset reference. And then you can select your new highlight material. Save that. And when I press play, nothing should have changed. Nothing will change. That is absolutely fine because this will only apply to objects that are set to have their render depth, their custom render depth enabled. So what we need to do is we need to go back to our clickable component. So the component we made that says that I can make something clickable, and there are two more events that I'm going to bind to. The first one is going to be the, let me just get the parent. I'm just going to bind event on begin cursor over. That's the event that I want to bind to. And again, I'm only going to do this if the static mesh is a valid static mesh. So we're going to connect that in, and then another one that we want to, sorry, just bring that down for a bit of neatness. We're going to bind event the opposite, so on end cursor over. So do that, and then once again we're just going to make two custom events from this. So I'm just trying to organize this neatly. I'll just drag it down here for now, and then I'll tidy up my blueprints later. So just add a custom event, which is on mouse hover, and then we're going to have another one which is on mouse, oh sorry, I have to make a custom event, and that's going to be on mouse hover end, like so. Do that, compile, save it. Our static mesh reference, get that out, and again we know it's valid because it's already come through, so we don't need to do a validity check. But what you want to do is call set render custom depth. Link that up, copy, paste that, attach it to the right target, link it up, compile, save, and when the mouse hovers over it, we want to set this to true, and when it stops hovering on it, we want to set it to false. Compile, save that, and now hopefully, if I've done everything correctly, I can go to my main game, I can hit play, and when I hover over this box, you'll see it's got a nice outline. And I made the outline really thick on purpose, just so it's super visible. But you get this really nice hover effect. I can still click on it to turn it green, and yeah, it gets a really nice effect. I'll show you what happens if I put multiple of these. So if I just go to my world outline, and if I just copy this cube, so there are two of them. You'll see when one cube is in front of the other, Unreal knows, and it will only highlight the one in front because it's using basically ray tracing. So yeah, we've got some really nice little effects, and we'll go through and add some actual logic to this in the future. So I hope that was a worthwhile video, and I hope it was easy to follow. I know the material stuff might have been a bit in-depth, but it did get a little complicated, but sometimes things do. I'll drop a link to the video that I learned how to do that from, because that's a really useful video, and I want to give the creator of that some credit. But yeah, if you have any comments or any questions, just drop a little thing in the doobly-doo. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you enjoyed the series, and I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.